number 168. If you guys, as you're logging in, be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button, and feel free to continue doing so throughout the dialogue. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, visit jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link and see what we have to offer. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune dialogues. All right, that's enough of an intro. So this handsome gentleman sitting here with me today is somebody, and he'll confirm this for me in a few seconds. I believe we have met before, probably somewhere on the seminar circuit, but yes. Yeah, but so join me as I get to know more about Matthew Judd of Jeet Kune, Staten Island. So Matt, welcome to the Jeet Kune Dialogues.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh man. So listen, I usually will do research on my guest by going to like the website for their school or something like that. But I didn't really find a website for you. What I found was the Facebook stuff. So I have a plan. I'm going to do something with you that I've not done with anybody before. And I just got to load them here. Because like I told you, you know, when we were getting set up, it dropped all my images out. So I have to reload them. So what I want to do is to show you a picture, and then you just tell us what's going on in this photograph.
Awesome.
Right? So my assumption from this one is that you are trained first in Taekwondo, and then you came into other stuff like Jeet Kune and Kali and Muay Thai. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yep, yeah, exactly. I started with Master David Machin at the United Taekwondo Center. He taught Taekwondo. He taught Eagle Claw Kung Fu, and he also had background in Goju. But he trained Eagle Claw under the gentleman who brought it into the country, Long Sham, and is actually in his book. So it was an interesting mix. So we had to have great kicks. We were also had the fluidity of the Kung Fu because it was separate classes. It was like similar to like a JKD school. You had your Eagle Claw Kung Fu class, you had your Taekwondo class, you had your sparring class, you know, so.
Okay, so now how long did you spend, because I know, let me see if I can find another picture here and ask you a question about this one. Yeah, this one right here. So again, my assumption is that you got to instructor level in, I don't know if it's that same school, but you got to instructor level with a Taekwondo background, correct?
Yes, sir. What happened is I was with my instructor. He winded up taking a very unique course at Long Island University. It was a college course, but it was a martial art course. And basically what happened is over the term of I think it was like 2 years, you trained under judo people, you trained under lawyers. They taught you about law in the martial arts, and when you can use it, when you can't use it.
Right.
You trained with doctors. What if somebody gets knocked unconscious? So it was a very specific. We were hooked up. Dwight, they had us hooked up to electrical things on us. And you know, like Dolph Lundgren, you're hitting the Makiwara.
Yeah.
And they had all these things hooked up to us. So to sum it up in a nutshell, I followed the same path that he did. And I wound up getting my first Dan. And eventually, when I was going to open up a school, I was lucky enough. My instructor gave me permission to open up under his tutelage. And then eventually I made it up to the third Dan, because supposedly in the karate community, if you're going to have a school, you're supposed to be like a third Dan or something like that. You know,
well, maybe in the old days.
Yeah, this was so long ago.
Right.
You know, these days you're a blue belt, you got a school.
Yep. I was just gonna say that. I don't have this picture, but in your Facebook profiles,
Yeah,
there's a
I
picture.
would love to see any of them if you were able to pull it
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
So
but this one I don't have, but I'm sure you'll recognize it. It's a the exterior of a building, and it says a Merry Kick on it.
yeah,
Now, okay, so I know a Merry Kick through, I think it's a guy named Nick Doherty.
yeah, he's one of the master instructors, the
Yeah.
sensei
Okay, what's
at
your connection to them?
all right, basically, I had a karate school, and obviously, I asked my sensei. I said, "Hey, I seen a picture of Gorodan on Black Belt magazine. He was going to be at Princeton Martial Art Academy." Yeah, the secret is in this is to be there at the time we were there, because we didn't know how special it was when we were there. We were just there, but I don't
Right.
want to stop. So, but basically, I seen it. I asked my instructor if can go. He gave me permission. When I came back, he said, "Whatever you learned, you have to practice, or you're going to forget it."
Uh-huh.
So he kind of gave me permission. You remember, he was doing Taekwondo, but he was also doing Kung Fu,
Kung
and he was
Fu.
also doing, yeah.
Right.
So he totally understood where I was coming from, and basically he gave me permission to go. So that's how I got into that flow. Now, where America came into it is later on, when everybody knows that business gets hard, even as a JKD person. And I got to bring something up which is very unique. Everybody knows about Dave Kovar, Master
Mm-hmm.
Dave Kovar. I
Mm-hmm.
remember having a JKD school, and I wanted to teach JKD the way it should be taught, but I wanted to teach it with like integrity and
Right.
have a staff, so you're not the
Yeah.
only one teaching on the floor. So I went
Yeah.
to him and I started training. He was a Kempo guy. Through him, I got associated with the Kempo people.
Mm-hmm.
One of my students, who was a black belt under me and became world champion in like XMA karate type of stuff and
Yeah.
mixed martial arts and all of that, he introduced me to the owners of the franchise. They looked at the school, they offered me a deal, and I took it. Now, please understand, now we're teaching, we have a karate program for kids. We have an adult Filipino martial art weapons program. We have a JKD program. We have, an integrated grappling program.
Okay.
So in the beginning, we were like everyone else, but that's how I got associated with Amerikick, which they're a big franchise. Obviously, they have, schools in every state. And it's a good experience. So
Mm-hmm.
Nick's a
Yeah.
great guy.
So I'm surprised then. Do you remember when the Kovar brothers did a seminar? Was it in New York? Did you ever
Yeah, I
go?
was always there. It's this interesting. I was always there, and Dave, Master Dave would always pick me because
Mhm.
he knew I knew Jeet Kune, and
Ah,
he would
right.
always do the trapping and the locking and the
Yeah.
he loves JKD and
Yeah.
everything about
You
it.
know,
So
I've had him on the show, right?
I'm gonna look for the episode when I get off,
I'll, I'll,
because
I'll, I'll send it to you. Yeah,
yeah, I
because
send it to me.
I know him. Because see, so I didn't know that you and I were in search of the same thing, because I studied with Dave Covert. Now I went to NAPMA conventions and sat in on his.
John Graydon,
Yeah,
Tom Callis.
yeah.
These are the
Okay,
guys who were
so you know
teaching.
Tom Callis has been on my show.
Tom Callis took a bite off my sandwich. I was going to. I just got off the plane. I was eating. I was like, "Master Tom, how are you?" I was like, "You want a bite?" And he was like, "All right, sure." And this was a different time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I searched these guys out. To be honest with you, I just wanted to put it out there. I didn't want to be one of those guys that just got my certification over the weekend, and I was only stuck to a certain amount of techniques. I I wanted that information that I could get on those weekends, like an intensive personal training program with Eric Paulson, or
Right.
training with Vunak or Larry Hartzell. But at the same time, I wanted to have a little bit of that business edge,
Of course.
with the integrity to polish it up.
Yeah, because okay, so your very first involvement in JKD then was your first Inasano seminar?
Yes.
What year
And
was
then,
that?
this was, I believe it was 95, 96. And the reason that I know this is because my son was born in 98. And my first time I went to train with Vunak was, my wife was pregnant, sitting on the side shooting the video as I rolled with Vunak, and he taught me what jujitsu was.
Ah.
I have the video somewhere, and it's him.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I realize now that you say you have the video somewhere. So apparently yesterday you found some old pictures of you and Paulson.
yeah, what happened is, when you go on Facebook and it says memories. I clicked on memories, and I had shared that a while back, and me and Amanto Basolto used to bring him in, and it was interesting because you know how when you go to seminars, you network with people and you talk and you make friends, and well, he would have Eric one day at his school in New Jersey,
right?
And the next day he would bring Eric to Brooklyn.
Okay.
So we had a split seminar. So if you notice the pictures with me and Eric kicking, and that's in my school, and the one with the group picture, that's in Armando's school, Armando Basolto's school.
That's funny, because I did something similar with my good buddy, my good ex-New Yorker buddy, Neil Coliff. Yeah, back in 2003, I think it was. We did the Saturday seminar in Coral Springs at his school, and then we did Sunday back here in Miami. All right, so I just found this one. So that's at Armando's school, huh?
Sure.
Yeah.
The group one.
Okay, the group one I don't have, but I found this one after I set everything up yesterday and last night. And then just as I was doing a pre-check, I saw this one and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I get that one? So, all right.
If
so
you can pull any of them up, I'd love to see them.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll get you everything that I can. The one that is it here? Gosh, let's see. Nope. But you mentioned, here we go. Okay. So is that your first seminar with him, or is that's another time, right?
My first seminar, obviously with JKD, obviously was at Princeton Martial Arts Academy. That's how I got exposed to it. And that could have been the first or second seminar, because he came to the school twice. Yeah. And I had like a portfolio of all that. One of the guys were like a photographer in the school at the time, and he took. We can't take the shots. You ever have a seminar at your school? Of course.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone taking it for you, like pictures and video. So at that time, we were fortunate. You got some staff. They were taking pictures, and he gave it to me in a book, and I had it. And on the front cover, I think it's 2002. It was 2002, 2003. Because you want to hear something incredible. In 2000, I had Vunak down in Brooklyn in a public school, 110 people in a public school in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
With Paul Vunak. But what happened is, the next year we had him rebooked for a double amount of people. And the planes hit the building. The planes hit the building. He couldn't fly out. Nobody could fly out. 2001. You remember?
Yeah.
No, everything went great. We had him booked for that night, and So just
Everything
some
went to pot.
interesting
Yeah.
information for
But
the
no, man.
JKD.
Look, listen. New York has. I mean, well, New York has a fantastic reputation for everything, but New York's got a really, really detailed Jeet Kune history. You know, Neil. I forget what year. I want to say it was '89, but Neil was probably the first. I'm fairly sure Neil was the first person to bring Inasano to New York, and but I don't remember when he brought Vunak, but I know I flew up to New York for Vunak with Neil as well. You know, so there's there's Neil, there's Armando, there's Charles Chai, there's Rick. I mean, we could consider Princeton to be part of the New York area. I mean, just a ton of good JKD people. Then Nick Sakulas, the Alex and Luigi and what have you. It's just like all the other aspects of New York as a world destination. I find that New York as a JKD destination fulfills all those qualifications. You know what I mean?
Yes, I have something about Sifu Neil, which might be interesting to you. During that time, I guess after I went to the seminar, I knew, I was like, wow, this is it. This is what I really want to do. I've done the karate thing. I have that side of the market, if you want to call it. I did not get into it, obviously, for the money. But when I realized that I had to pay the rent or I was going to get it thrown out.
Of course.
So basically, I found Neil's school, and I have a very dear and close friend, which you probably know. Marvin I walked into Neil's school, and I don't know what year it was. I just know it was around that time period with the 95, 6, 7.
Okay.
And Marvin gave me my first lesson. Marvin gave me my first lesson in JKD.
Yeah. I know who that Marvin is.
Well, Neil's school broke up. You had Alex, Luigi, and Marvin. All great guys, great team, great school owners. Obviously, you know New Breed, New Breed Martial Arts. So you got those guys. Marvin, I guess, was one of the 3 of Neil's students.
Yeah,
almost positive. And when I went to Neil's school, Marvin gave me my first lesson, and it was great. I never forgot it. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I don't know, because I live in Staten Island. It was either travel to Queens or go right over the bridge to New Jersey. I decided to go to Princeton, and I'm going to tell you why. I think I decided why, because that's where I went for Gorodan, and Sifu Rick was bringing him down at that time. I don't think in my mind, I didn't realize maybe that he was coming to Queens. I winded up joining Sifu Rick school, and that's what happened. So, but I did take a class at Sifu Neil's school. So he definitely was the first one to bring JKD to this area.
Yeah, I mean, you ended up, under the tutelage of some of the best from that era,
They were all doing the Inside series. They were all doing the 1-2 series. They were all doing the 1-3 series. They were all doing Silim Tao. They were all doing Advanced Retreat, Move Left, Move Right. They all had the curriculum, and so I just I wanted to have it too, and I just thought that that was something interesting to put out there. That the first class that I took was at Neil's school. He probably doesn't even know. So
Neil's got a really good memory. He's got everything down. So okay, all right. So fix the timeline for me. So you did the Inasano seminar. You ended up going to New Jersey to train at Princeton Academy. Over what time period, and then when did you decide that? Well, you said it already. This was it. But when did you decide? Okay, this is what I'm going to do for a living.
I was already doing it for a living. I was continuing education.
Got it.
Education. So look, like this. I had got the black belt in Taekwondo.
Right.
I wound up getting 2 or 3. I had I I had 3 separate schools in Brooklyn. One near a car wash, one near a mafia shop. One night they took an M80, put it on the window of the school, and blew it off. I was inside. I wake up, the windows all exploded. They were like, "Yeah, tough karate guy, huh?" So, yeah, no. So I got some funny.
Oh my God. You gotta be kidding.
But if I'm trying to not get away from the question, basically this is what happened. When I went to Sifu Rick's school, I was already an instructor. I already had a school, but I wasn't teaching Jeet Kune professionally.
Right, got it.
I was just taking classes on the weekend with Sifu Rick. Dwight, you have no idea how much it was costing me to get to New Jersey from where I was. At the time, I didn't have a car. I didn't play the violin. I was taking the regular New York train to the New Jersey PAD train, to the PAD train station, the cab to Princeton, and then the cab back to the New Jersey train, back to the New York train, back home. Yeah, so it was totally worth it.
It's called that's called dedication, man.
We had a question in the martial art community one time. If I can give you $1 million right now, but all the training that you ever had from all the instructors you ever had, you wouldn't remember. If I gave you that money, would you take the money?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't take it. Mm-hmm. I would not take the $1 million to lose what I have learned from the instructors. And I would I would rather stand by the words that you said. Don't look for the easy life. Prepare yourself for the hard one. You know the saying.
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right. So where does this? Let me pull up this picture. Where does this one? Give me the story behind this one.
I'm not seeing any photos.
Oh, you don't see it?
No.
It's you and Ajahn Chai in what looks like your first pair of Thai boxing shorts.
Yes. Basically, I have a little unique story, and the reason my story is unique is my journey wasn't by myself. My whole family was part of this journey, and I used to bring my daughter when she was 3 years old with her coloring books to Archin Chai and Gordon and the seminars.
Right.
That I guess whoever had a seminar, Nick Sukalis, but mainly it was at Princeton, and she came to all this. So she's a 3-year-old little girl, and then what do you think happened later on in life? She became like she was the ultimate sensei, because I don't know about you, but I was a latecomer. Like I guess I was 18 when I started martial arts. This my daughter and my kids were 3. They grew up in the martial arts school. So getting back to that photo, most of those photos were probably taken at Princeton Academy. And the reason I mention her is because Archin Chai would come up to my daughter, and he would come next to her, and she couldn't believe how small she is and what she's doing there. And he would get up and he would start doing his movements, and so pretty exciting memories.
Yeah, he's always so. She's not in any of those pictures, right?
Yeah, no, but I have some. One of these days I can.
I saw, so there was another one I saw. I don't have it, but there's another one I saw of a little girl with the stick is bigger than she is.
That's her.
That's her.
Yeah, basically, we literally bred her since she was a child.
Yeah.
And if there's any such thing as hit girl, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Kick Ass. You had the girl. She would be it, because you might find this interesting. My instructors had, when they got a black belt in karate, they got a black belt, and it would have one stripe on it, and it would actually say karate. And then when they got their black belt in Kali, Dwight, I know people go crazy when we say black belts. You know, because you in
They went
JKD.
crazy on you
Yeah.
a couple days ago on
Holy
Facebook.
cow!
Yeah.
Oh my God. Dwight, these were guys that trained under me for 10 years,
Yeah.
and they were military guys. And basically, I issued them the original certificates that we had from our school, the New York Integrated Martial Arts Academy. You know, that was the original. We called it NEMA. And when we went to in a way, I was like the JKD renegade because you're the rebel, right? JKD rebel. And I'll explain why. You have this new guy who's coming around, and obviously, you said it. I thank you for the kind words. You were like this handsome guy. For whatever reason, I stood out because when I was a young kid, I really didn't have a dad. The martial arts senseis, they were my fathers.
Right.
And the only thing that I had was my insecurities, my martial arts, and my family. Because at those early times, those pictures, every seminar was insecurities because I knew how far behind I was from everyone else that was there. I don't know if I'm getting off on a rant.
You mean because you started late, as you said?
Everybody already had their foundation. Either they were bringing Dan to the school already, like New Breed Martial Arts. They were bringing Gora Dan down. They were bringing Arch and Shai down. They were bringing Salim down.
Yeah.
They were bringing, Nick was bringing all these guys down. I was just the new guy who came from out of the woodwork, and I kind of felt like the JKD renegade.
I hear you.
And that's one of the reasons why I never brought Gora Dan down. The reason why I didn't, because all of the guys who helped me to get started were.
Right.
You know, they were all bringing, what am I going to do now? Bring them down to the same area? It didn't pay. So that's why I said, you know, I'm going to look up Sifu Larry Hartzell.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Master Vunak, and those were the guys that I called, and you know, so that might fill that question you had. You know, how did you get to where you wanted to teach? I said I was already doing it, training with Rick, and as a gift, my wife took me to LA to train with Vunak.
Okay. That's what I wanted to ask you. But I was going to ask you that about Hartzell first. So can you see this picture?
Yeah, I can't see any pictures. I hope other people are seeing it.
Yeah, I hope so too. Okay, so this is the one of you holding the focus mitts for Sifu Hartzell.
Yeah.
That looks like it's in New York or what have you.
Yeah. That was in Brooklyn. And I have to tell you, like, when he would give a seminar, like the amount of information that he would give was just like incredible. It really was. But that was in Brooklyn, that particular picture. I know which one you're talking about because I got one that I'm holding, and then the second picture is at his house in LA.
Well, okay, so let me see if I can pull that out, because you know, Be Live gives me a limit on how many things I can pull up. But let me try. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. I hope. Can you see that one? And this is why I decided to use the format of asking you questions about the pictures. So this is one where he's doing a trapping technique on you. And when I saw that one, I go, that has to be in Los Angeles, because it looks completely different. The background looks completely different from the other one. So I'm like, these are two different settings. So then I theorized that you went out to California to study with Hartzell.
Yeah, basically, once I had got, what's the word I'm looking for, Dwight? Once I had got the JKD
bug
in me, I'm going to go back a little. I was working in the hospital, and my wife, there's something that you need to know. Did you know that a lot of the JKD practitioners are married to nurses?
They're not only married to nurses, they're married to Filipino nurses.
All right. Simo Gwen, she is responsible. Everywhere I went, she went with me. Every certification I got, she got with me. And basically, she was working in the hospital in Brooklyn in Victor Memorial, and I seen her. And every morning I would bring her breakfast and food. And one day, one of the other nurses says, "Why is he bringing you bacon?" And so basically what happened is we fell in love, we got married, but she winded up continue being a nurse, and I wound up leaving the hospital and opening up my martial arts school, which was the karate school, which eventually became a little martial art college, because you could actually come, my brochure had, Taekwondo, it had it even had the rapid assault tactics in there. It was a program that we were selling, similar to Krav Maga. People would have a program, and it did really well. That program is one of the ones that got me into the military, thanks to Uncle Vu.
Yeah.
And basically, so there's your a little bit more of the background on how it totally got started from.
Okay.
The Taekwondo to the JKD. But your question was about Larry.
Yeah. And you said she gifted you a trip to LA?
Yeah, basically, my wife was like, "Hey, we're going to go to LA. Why don't we see Vunek when you're out there? I know you wanted to." So we kind of went out to LA, and because she has family out there. And at the same time, I seen Vunek. But the reason, because I don't know about you, but my memory is not as good as it used to be. The only way I could put these years together is because she was pregnant.
Right.
And my son was born in 98. So I'm like 97. I guess I was at Vunek, and I was already training with Rick for a few years. So there you go, from 95. And so there you go. So basically, I believe that I was speaking to Eric Paulson. I have an interesting story. I was at a seminar and at Princeton, and I seen Eric. He was near the table, and you got to understand, this was the first time he ever probably came down. So this is different. Yeah. He's got all his stuff on the table, all his photos. Not too many people's going near the table. And I knew Dwight. For some reason, I looked at this man and I was like, there is something special around him. Little did I know he was the our JKD grappling secret. Right. So I went over to him. I went over to the table, and I spoke to him for a little while. And he had one of his photos that I still have to this day. He signed it for me. And this is how I got connected with Larry. I picked up one of his intensive personal training brochures that Paulson had. It was Eric Paulson's, not Larry's. And Eric said, "You know what? You should go train with Larry Hartzell. He has an excellent program. I recommend that you." He wasn't telling me that I couldn't train with him. Right. He kind of recommended that I train with Larry. So I did, and I winded up bringing Larry down for seminars in Brooklyn, and that's how I got connected. So I was at Princeton, seen Eric there, got connected with Eric. He also mentioned Larry to me, and I was like, this is, great. He's Gorodan's best friend, the bodyguard to Mr. T, and that's how I got involved with Larry. So. Okay.
But then you also trained with Paulson, and you brought Paulson over as well, right?
Yeah, the three main people was, obviously, you have Paul Vunek, Larry Hartzell, and Eric Paulson. Paul Vunek was the one who really inspired me to actually get hit a little harder when it came to the business end. Yeah. And the reason for that is, at the end of my IPTP, I says, "Listen, I really don't want to make $1 million. I just want to teach and do good." And he says, "Don't forget who your teachers were and where you come from, because you don't want to devalue, what we're doing. So make sure, So I remember that was one of the last things, that he said to me on my first IPT.
Okay. All right. So that I plug myself again. He's been on the show too, right?
You have no idea how happy I was to see him, and actually to see him smiling, and
it's probably my most famous episode.
Yeah, I hope that we're talking about the same man. Are we talking about Uncle Vu?
Yeah.
All right. The simple fact of the matter is, in my opinion, I really think that he is one of the most inspirational people in the JKD realm. And the reason that
100%.
Yeah, the reason that I'm saying this and stating it out loud is, do you remember last week when I posted a picture of someone and they were like, "Oh, there's no belts in JKD"? They said that. Well, he was one of the first ones to tell all of those people to go fuck themselves. Can I? No. Am I allowed to? I'm sorry.
You're okay. You're okay.
No. And the reason for that is, come on, he put full page ads in Black Belt magazine because he had the curriculum and the information and the knowledge to back it up, and he put programs together. So what happened is he winded up inspiring a big portion of that JKD community that we know as a whole.
Yeah.
And, so
anybody who is honest about their development in JKD, unless they had absolutely no dealings with Paul Vunak, right? If you didn't have any dealings with Paul Vunak, then you can say, well, he didn't do anything for me. But if you did, there's no way you came away from an encounter with Vunak without being inspired. There's no way, right? He was not on the roster in 1983 when I started, but he was there, and he taught. At night we would have demonstrations, but Vunak didn't do a demonstration. Instead, he taught a workshop. I have my notes from that workshop 38 years later. I still have those notes. And he's the one from whom I got the concept that I call, it's the concept of adding one. Because he would start you with one basic technique, and then he would add on to it and add on to it and add on to it until you had entry, follow-up, and finish. I learned that from Vunak.
We could stay on this all day, but the simple fact of the matter is nobody else really put videos out that were in a progression.
Yeah.
I mean, just the kickboxing 1 and 2 from Panther.
Yes.
How many times did you rewind those videos and have those counter for counter kickboxing combinations?
Hey, look, I watched those and I wrote stuff down from that stuff. Are you kidding?
So now you know why I went to LA. I'm sitting in the living room, I'm watching them on video, and the wife is like, "Hey." So, but so it's quite obvious that I try my best to, this is where I came from. Back, sometimes when you're younger, you're not going to admit those things. But after I watched your podcast with Kevin Seaman, that he put me in check. The man is he definitely inspired me to want to give a good podcast and a good representation of the art and where we came from. So
right, but this is part of what I was saying earlier about the immaculate heritage of New York JKD. Whether it's New York City or upstate New York or whatever, and it continues to this day. The JKD element in New York. So what's your current status now? You still have a school, or are you like committed to military only, or what? What's the status now?
All right. So I could tell you how I actually got connected with the military, because obviously we had like knowledge if they wanted a program or something to get developed. If you're a JKD instructor and you've been training, for X amount of time. And what I found out training the JKD, usually that time is about 20 years for some reason. But basically, I think it was around 2014, I winded up closing my school. And I didn't really close it. What I did is I sold it to one of my students. He was the one who's connected with Nick from Amerikick. I sold it to my student Alex Davidoff. And he to this day he still is running the schools. But what happened is about 3 months after, I realized it was a really bad decision. You get burnt out a little bit. You need a little bit of a break, and now you're like, what am I going to do now? This is what I've been doing my whole life. So I was actually moping around, and I was, it was a dark time. What happens if you close your school? You lose your students, you lose your friends, you disconnect. It's hard to stay connected. I don't think the social media thing was as hot at that time. It's a little ways back. So now I'm sitting around moping, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from one of my students who trained with me and actually attended the VUNAC seminars. Basically, his name is Juan. Basically, he worked for the NYPD at that time, and he was also in the military. Now you got to understand that this was way back, Dwight. Like, he went to the seminars with VUNAC. That was like 15 years ago. Well, what happened is when he got to a high level in the military, combatives came up. And this was right around the time when I was probably ready to jump off a building and the phone rings. I was depressed. I was, you miss your students, everybody line up, coming in. And I got the phone call, and basically it kind of rejuvenated me, because now, I didn't have a school, but I was actually able to go in and work with the military. And the greatest thing, are you ready for this?
Go.
I live in Staten Island. Staten Island is known as for the military. They have a base there, Fort Wadsworth.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's a very there's a lot of history there, and there's a park you can walk in, and it has, just like in Normandy, it has like those things with the guns and they have a fort. Yeah. So basically,
I thought Staten Island was where all the NYPD cops lived.
That's the movie with Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, what is that? It's one of my favorite movies.
And the Blue Bloods TV series.
Yeah. Well, basically, what happened was they were stationed in Staten Island, and I got contracted. So basically, whenever I had to work with them, if I had to work with them at 10 o'clock, I could leave my house at 9:50 and be there, because it's right around the corner, and there's the fort. So that's how I connected with the military. Now, the interesting thing was, and this is for all of us in the JKD community, I found out that if you are lucky enough to get your foot in the door with the military, and you do a good job, and you understand how to make JKD for dummies simple. We're supposed to make it simple, but for the military, it has to be double simple. They will continue to call you back if you are producing results.
Can you drill down on that? Like give me examples of what you teach and how you teach it and why you teach it that way to the military?
It's interesting that you said that, because I thought that I was just going to teach whatever I want. But basically, they actually sent me a letterhead asking for what they wanted. And I could tell you, like, basically the military now, they like to kickbox and they like to do grappling, because you know how when you walk in, the other day you were talking about boxing. I had one of the guys on the podcast. It's the only art that you can't fake. it tells the truth right away. Karate,
Okay. Yeah.
I could do it for 6 months, and
Right.
you know, you think you're good.
Yeah.
Boxing, you spar. So, basically, in a nutshell, I think that's what the military really wanted. They wanted only boxing and wrestling. But
Ah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I got in, I did their boxing and wrestling, but I exposed them to more. And then the next time I came back, they actually asked for it. I exposed them to weapons and
Yeah.
defanging the snake,
Yeah.
and basic disarms. I Krav Maga, gun disarms. When you're working with the military, I wasn't just a JKD guy. I was a martial art instructor hired, so I had to pull from everything.
Right.
If Krav Maga, the Jeet Kune, and so I'm hoping that answered your question. They actually sent a letterhead. I had to give them all of my information so they could, obviously they probably check you out, maybe do background check or whatever, and
Right.
they send a letter what they want you to cover on that day. And so that's, it's not like you just go in and do anything. They had a request. So, so
Did that have any effect on what you would teach civilian students? Like, did you like compare and contrast and go, I can do this way with them, but when I try to do this same thing, I got to change it in order to do it with the other group?
yeah, it's interesting that you asked that, because I'm going to sum it up in 2 words.
Okay.
When I went to teach the military, it was simply a Vunak mentality with a Dave Kovar touch. Now,
I love it.
but I had Eric Paulson and Larry Hartzell in my back pocket.
Right.
And so I had something to fall back on.
That's excellent, man. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
that. What happened, because when I spoke to Eric Paulson about martial art techniques, and I think I sent him something. I don't know what it was, but basically Eric says, my techniques are my life insurance policy. That to that to some type of extent, like he has a lot in the barrel. So yeah, so it's I'm glad that you asked those questions. I'm not sure if I answered the civilian one, because the Vunak mentality sometimes I wouldn't teach in the regular school, because I remembered the commander walking in, and he had his 9-year-old son there, and I was doing the Vunak bite flow, and the groin bite came up. And now you have this commander who's there with his 9-year-old son, and we're biting groins. No, he just happened to come in at the right time, and they still called me back, but they didn't feed me lunch that day.
Oh man. Right, they knew you're already full. Yeah. There's this other picture. So in everything that we talked about, I don't want to say that it's not out of place, but I'm just wondering where this came, because you look like you're 10 years old, and it's you and Cliff Lenderman.
All right. Because I had a school, and it was a full-time school, I really believed in continuing education. Like I was always going in training. Like I guess we have a right to pat ourselves a little bit on the back. I mean, this was a different time. I was a different person. This is the part of the Rocky movie that he got civilized.
Okay.
But what happened was, I'm training with, I already got the Taekwondo, so I'm knocking people out with head kicks.
Right.
First JKD seminar I went to, the guy was like, "Don't kick that high, it loses power." So I kicked him, and he was like, "All right, you can." No, but as far as the continuing education, we had when I trained at Princeton Martial Arts Academy, I was actually I'm regressing a little bit, but I guess this is my podcast, right?
Yeah, of course. This is your episode. Yeah.
Well, basically, I was fortunate. That Rick, I needed private lessons, and obviously Rick is the top guy. So he put Jeff Jones with me.
Okay.
And I spent time doing privates with Jeff Jones for, I don't know. It wasn't years, but it definitely was a year, or it definitely was at least a year doing privates, going over all of the curriculum. So I felt like, because I was doing this stuff, Dwight, I was getting the authentic John Fun curriculum, the JKD kickboxing, the trapping to grappling, the proper way to do a Pak Sao, Chum Choi Pak Sao, get your suts onto both sides. The guys who helped me with that was the guys at Princeton Martial Arts Academy, because they were trying. I'm not going to say they were trying. They were doing the curriculum similar to the way Gordon was doing it in LA. They had a C-Lot class. They had a kickboxing class.
Right.
So I was able to take privates with them and get the curriculum. Then you had Larry, who was also giving me the information. So now I'm taking different information from this John Fon, and I'm putting it together with this John Fon. I'm taking a look at it. Right. And I'm realizing that this one has one more trap. This one has one more. And then I go to Vunak, and this stuff I throw out the window.
Ah, really?
The Vunak method of teaching is almost, you need to have all of that stuff already, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's why I did so well, in my opinion, when I went up to Vunak, because I was already training at Princeton Martial Arts Academy. I knew what a Hubud was. I knew what Chi Sao was. Right. I didn't go because I seen it in a magazine, and it was my first. When I went there, I knew what Sumbrata was. I knew. So I had all those guys in my back pocket. Now here's the touch of it. This was about the Linderman picture. The Linderman picture is because that is the college where Tom Callis took a bite off my sandwich. You had Cliff Linderman. You had Tom Callis. You had Mike Chat. You had all of these guys. I went there to train in any martial arts that I could, and also to give Tom a bite off my sandwich. I went there because Dave Kovar was there. He was the main one. But when I found out Master Cliff was there, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. And you said I look like I'm 10 years old. Maybe I was in my 20s, but I felt like a little kid. I'm hanging out with Cliff Linderman. I'm sitting at the table with Tom Callis. David Kovar is going to use me to demonstrate. So I kind of, there's the pat on my back that I didn't. You heard about the guys that are flying over in their first degree, and by the time they land, they're a third degree. I wanted to make sure that I had all my bases covered, and that that I was a good martial art instructor, and that I wasn't a phony. But I told you before, I had as many insecurities as any normal young man could have back in those days, but I was doing it anyway.
Hey, let me put you on the spot. Give a piece of advice a piece of business advice to JKD instructors.
Staff development.
I
have a little secret that will go out in the martial art community. I graduated from Dave Kovar's ProMac.
Oh, you did?
It's a professional martial art college. Whatever. It's like 2 years, and you get videos, and you have to go and train. There's physical training. There's business training. People come in to train you. He'll have Cliff Linderman there. But now, when I was just about to graduate, guess who comes into the classroom?
Burt Richardson.
I'm gonna help you out. We're playing a little game here.
Okay.
He runs one of the best JKD schools on the East Coast. Professional. I'm going to give you one more tip.
Okay, on the East Coast.
On the East Coast, and I'll give you one more hint. I believe his wife is Filipino, and he's a very heavily family man, and he's very handsome and has a really cool beard.
Wait.
It's Sifu Nick Sukalis.
Okay, Nick has a beard?
Well, kind of.
Sometimes. Okay. Well,
the last
yeah,
time
but here's the thing. See, I would have gotten to it ultimately, but here's what you said: successful JKD school on the East Coast.
Did I say it
There's
wrong?
a lot of them.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to tell
There's a lot of them.
I'm going to tell you why I picked him out. I'm going to tell you why. The reason why I picked him out, because the presentation of his, remember, this is for martial, I'm going to take this off. This is for martial art JKD school owners. This is a tip. And the tip from me to you guys is staff development if you want to keep your schools running and keep them professional. And the reason why I brought Nick up is because I always felt that not only did he, if he was going to Kovars, remember he just walked in when I finished.
Yeah.
That means he was going for that final touch, that final edge, that final, how can you run the school better? How can you teach classes better? How can you work on time management better? Your time management in the class. You ever have an instructor and the class was supposed to end at 9 o'clock and now it's like 9:27? So staff development is a really big thing. The reason Nick came up is because the Kovars kind of gave me that little touch of staff development, having time management in your classes, making sure the classes are taught in a progression, making sure that your promotions are done frequently. Your promotions got to be done frequently. If you don't promote, let's say this month, you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do a promotion. There could be 2 or 3 kids that were 1 second away from getting their black sash or quitting. Every student that we have is 1 day away from quitting and 1 day away from being your next instructor.
Right.
So these are some of the nuts and bolts that I have learned. So staff development is the biggest thing that you can have. The reason you do staff development, because have you heard this before? Dwight, name 2 people that left you and opened their own school in the last 20 years.
Oh, I won't call names.
No, we don't.
But of course it happened.
We don't have.
Of course it happened.
All right. Listen, I mentioned the name before, and that name is not even where he was before. Now he's on his own. Right. Now we don't have to talk about that because that's college. No. But
yeah, I know. I think I know what you're talking about, though.
Staff development is the most important thing that we can do. Also, are you ready for this, Dwight? You are tapping into the most inner feelings that I have. It cannot be about you, because while you're training that staff, they're going to feel that. It has to be about the students, and it has to be about them. You have to put them kind of before you. Because what happened is, you know how your school goes through cycles? You have like, you're doing really good, and then
you mean good days and bad days?
No, you're doing really good, and then you, as a person, as a man, or as an instructor, screw up, and 1 student leaves, and 6 leave with him.
Yeah.
No, but all right. So then you catch up again.
Right.
And then what happens is, if you're not being that professional, if you're not having time management, if you're not on the ball, if you're not teaching those instructors classes, if you're thinking of only you, if you're leaving somebody out, there's all these things you got to do. then what happens is now you made this family mad. A family got mad. A whole family got mad and quit. And now another family got mad because their kids like to train with those kids. And this could also happen with adults. So this is,
yeah.
So
I hear you.
Staff development, and you may find this interesting. Every time you go into class, you teach your instructors this creed. I will teach this class as if it is the most important class I will ever teach. I will be patient and enthusiastic. I will lead by example. And I will tell you why. You
really learned your Kovar creed, didn't you?
I will tell you why. I was at my friend's pizzeria. He looked depressed. I said, Johnny, what's wrong? He was like, I said, I will make this pizza as if it is the most important pizza I will ever make. I will be patient and enthusiastic. I will lead by example.
Nice.
He turned, he smiled. So what happened is I took those Kovar things,
of course,
and I put it with the JKD. So if the answer to the whole question is it has to be a whole, I want to give that the JKD people, they should already know this.
No.
If they're
no.
Yeah.
No. So, I'll fight you on that one.
Yeah.
Because where there was nobody in the JKD world doing the JKD business development. We all had to go outside of JKD and bring it back into our individual schools.
Well,
so unless we did that, we wouldn't know it.
Yes.
So, you see? Because we were always told in JKD, whatever the Taekwondo schools are doing, you want to do the opposite.
You said something on a podcast last week about basically Gorodan has all his curriculum in like a 3-year rotation, and all he does is rounds. Well, this is what I learned, which you might find very interesting, and this is for school owners, and this is actually, you have no idea how much that I paid to get some of this information. No,
I do actually.
ProMac is not cheap. ProMac could be
I know it is.
$15,000.
Yeah.
All right. So here, basically, you take all of your curriculum. Some people may know this already, Dwight. You take all your curriculum, let's say all your beginner curriculum, and you put it in a pizza pie, 8 slices. And each week you will teach one piece of that pie until it's all complete.
Yeah.
And then it rotates. Now, the reason why you do that is because it doesn't matter when a student starts.
Right.
As long as you're doing that pizza pie, whatever rotation he comes in, he would still get that curriculum. So I'll give you an example. You might have, this week we're working the inside series and for trapping, and we're working the 1-2 series for kickboxing, and we have maybe a little lock flow. And that's like your class. And that's what you do, let's say, for the week. And then the next week, you might have the outside series and the 1-3 series and the trapping to grappling series. So it's like a progression.
Right.
So the pizza pie allows you to put your curriculum into a rotating curriculum, so you never screw up and miss something. And I think that could be one of the secrets that Gorodan might have used throughout his teaching career. Like,
that's interesting. So I learned the rotating curriculum, or the rotating curriculum approach. I learned that from Dave Kovar.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Did you utilize it?
Let me tell. I'm going to show you. Let me try to pull up something for you.
You can pull anything up, because the reason it's so good is because it didn't matter what art you were teaching. You just had to structure it.
Okay, so when I came back from, and I don't remember where it was, but I know I was sitting in the classroom. Maybe it was at a Maya event or a NAPMA event or something. But when I came home and I started developing my rotating curriculum, you know what I realized was the symbol for the rotating curriculum? Can you see that one?
I for some reason I
You
can't
can't
see.
see it. Oh man, that's too.
So,
Okay, it's the JKD symbol without the lettering, without the Chinese lettering. So it's the yin yang with the two arrows.
all right, okay.
Right? That became my symbol for, because Matt, when he started teaching that, I go, this is exactly what all Jeet Kune Do schools need.
I when I hear you talk like this, I kind of feel like I was a little bit ahead of the curve. Only, yeah, because I felt like some of the JKD guys were just getting into it. Like I got into JKD late, but I think they got into that area.
Well, that's the advantage. See, I tell people this all the time. So I'm 12 years ahead of you if I have my math correct. You started in 95.
Definitely.
I started in 8, right? So my generation, there was zero business. What I love, admire, and envy about you guys is that you came in and you go, this Jeet Kune Do stuff is way valuable. We're going to work with this. And you guys had no hesitation. You had no qualms about developing JKD business. You, Nick Sakulas, Charles Chai, Luigi, and Alex, that generation, there is so much that the old timers like me could learn from you guys in terms of business attitude. So yeah.
I mean, yeah. So obviously, I hope that I answered the question. It gets back to the staff development, and you want to. There's a secret that I'm getting a little deep here.
Go.
If you do not eat and hang out sometimes with your staff, this sounds a little crazy, but like some instructors, they don't want to like see their staff out of the school. Your older staff, every once in a while, you go out with them. You go to a movie. You go get something to eat. You have to know your staff, and feel them. They're like the heart and the pulse of the school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you something interesting. The reason why the staff development is so big. Do you know that I have a new hip on my right side from all that fancy kicking?
Oh man, no, really?
Yeah. So who do you think was running the school?
Senior students, staff.
They ran the school. My senior student, I have to mention his name, Victor Citron, and his whole family, and Sensei Charmaine, Simo Gwen. When I went to the Philippines to train, who do you think ran the school?
Yeah, you know Greg Nelson has a similar story.
So
when he got sick.
So guys, this is why the staff development is so important, because you want to. I don't believe in having multiple schools. If you want to have multiple schools, you can have multiple schools, or you can have one really successful school that has a staff and that is consistent. And the only way you can do that is by doing what I said. You can't just be a boss to your staff. You don't have to be their friend. All right, you ready? This is for you. You got to finish this. Relationship with students. Be personable, but not personal. Be personable, but not personal. Be friendly, but not a friend. Never use your rank for any selfish gains. That goes back to Master Kovar.
Yeah.
So by incorporating those things and by getting a little bit modern, like, are we allowed to have sashes? We're allowed to say sash, right?
That's entirely up to you.
No. When I went to the Inasano Academy, he had the sashes up on the wall. They were all up there.
Did he really?
I mean, I don't remember what year it was, but when I got the curriculum for Sifu Hartzell and the curriculum from Rick Tucci, it either said red, orange, blue. So there are rankings, and the reason why I am bringing this up to the business question for JKD school owners is there were sashes in at least. Am I right, or was that just for the children's class, Dwight? At the Inasano Academy at one time, a lot
I'm
of
not
academies.
right. I'm not sure if it's expanded into the adult stuff, but I know for sure that they started using a colored ranking system in the kids' classes. Definitely.
Right. And why is that? The reason is for that is because the kids need to have something. They need to have they you know how a kid does something good and they get something and then they come back more and
Well,
they
yeah,
something else.
yeah, recognition, and reward.
So before I said about the promotions, they have to be frequently. Let's say every 2 months or every 3 months. In my opinion, if you have a large school, you do it every month.
But Matt, people are going to argue with you and say, well, so you're talking about turning your Jeet Kune school into a belt factory.
Yeah.
You know they're going to argue with you.
Yes, no. It's totally understandable. But guess what? I had one of the first JKD schools that had a kids program. At least, maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, Dwight. But I'm going to tell you why. Remember, my daughter was 3.
Mm-hmm.
By the time she was 6 or 7, Larry Hartzell was there. And the kids, I have video of children testing under Larry Hartzell for their sashes. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring this up is I don't want to use the wrong word. It's a tool that an instructor uses to get the student where they need to go. Similar to when you cross a river, you use the boat, but when you get across the river, you don't carry the boat on your back any longer. Mm-hmm. I'm really hoping that I explained that good.
Yeah, it's always going to be an area of controversy in the JKD world.
Remember this, like are we talking about JKD is not for children? No,
no, we're not.
Kids. If can JKD be taught to children properly? Because so what we do is we have that pizza pie, mm-hmm. and we structure the curriculum beginner, intermediate, advanced, so everybody mm-hmm. has their own pie and working their own stuff. Now, each time somebody graduates on that piece of pie, realistically, they get a certificate, a certification that they did the following thing. Now, what happened is, yes, we are kind of borrowing. Do you remember when Gordon told us everybody was going to be doing the same martial art in 10 years? Come on. Right. Gordon told us 10 years ago that everybody, or 15 years ago, that in 10 or 15 years from now, everybody's going to be doing the same martial art. Now you go to a karate school, it's kickboxing, it's mm-hmm. grappling. So I don't know how I'm putting this with the belts, but Bruce said that you have to adapt to the ever-changing times and situations.
Yeah.
And basically, that's what Vunak did. Vunak changed, and I'm getting off on a rant here, but similar to what he did everything without the belt system by doing the intensive personal training programs. But right. I was on the opposite of that. I actually had a school that families were coming in. So I actually mm-hmm. had to have a structure and program. So this mm-hmm. is what I did. And now people are going to flip out. I trained under the best people that I possibly could and tried to learn the essence of their curriculum, the John Fon portion. And the reason why I wanted to learn the John Fon portion is because if you're only doing straight blast, headbutt, knees, and elbows, it's only going to go so far. As a teacher, I had to have the inner workings. Like the beginner Panther tapes, they had curriculum. Now, every time somebody graduated, they would go to a next level. And as I have learned, Rick Tucci and them, they were doing the same thing. Like I said, on a regular sheet of computer paper, it would have the curriculum down, you know, inside series, outside series. And at the top, it would say white.
Yeah.
All we're doing is putting white belt.
Right.
Orange belt. And the reason that we did that, I think it was for, are you ready for the magic word?
Go.
Society. It was for the public. It was the only thing that they understood and put value to because of the word black belt. Right. What's more popular, sensei or Sifu?
Sensei.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. So if you use Sifu, people are like, Sifu? And now you got to explain to them. I'm going to tell you, these days, if you're in business, you shouldn't have to explain to everyone. If your advertisement and your sign, your shirts and everything is done properly, it should answer a lot of questions before people go in.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying. But yes, we're not making it a karate system. What we're doing is we're putting it together in a type of a structure so we can teach it better as teachers. I remember Gordon at the seminars opening up the books. This is from Indonesia. This is from here. This is from here. And then he would go to whatever the notes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Meanwhile, we lost him at 3.
Yeah.
You know, so what I did was, and one of these days I could actually I actually have curriculum, how I would structure it. And personally, you know how JKD can be taught in any manner. People say, where do you start? Do you start with trapping? Do you start with locking? Do you want to know where I started?
Where?
Footwork. I started with footwork. I taught them, you know, how to advance, how to retreat. Then I taught them head movement.
Yeah.
Then I taught them, you know, basically at the beginning of our classes, we did a similar warm-up to a Dan, or did you see the archive tape from Paul Brunet?
Oh, the one where they're in the studio in the short sleeve shirt.
Yes. He said himself, it was his first class. He didn't know what to do. So all his friends said, why don't you just go teach class?
Right. We'll turn the camera. Yeah, no cap. Right. Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah. The reason why I thought that the footwork was one of the most important places to start them was because it was mobility. You were teaching them mobility, and you were also, and it was considered physical.
Yeah.
And there's curriculum there. I mean, if you talk to, you know, if you, you know, advance, retreat, you can move left, you can move right, you can push, shuffle, you could step and slide, you got the pendulum, you have the half triangle. So I actually had footwork for the beginner, footwork for the intermediate, and footwork for the advanced. And how did I do that? The beginners got the JKD footwork. You know, the advanced, retreat, move left, move right, quarter turn left. The intermediate would get the Filipino footwork, male triangle.
Oh, I see what you did.
Female triangle. Half triangle.
Okay.
So, and what happened is by the time
that's interesting. What would the advanced group get for footwork?
They would put it all together.
I knew it.
They would have to put it all together.
Right, I knew it. Yeah.
So it was in a little progression.
Right.
So the only reason we're calling it belts is because this is not an intensive personal training program. You're not going to train with me for 5 hours and then the next day train with me for 5 hours. This is different. I have intensive personal training program. This was for someone that you need as a student, they're part of your JKD family. They're part of JKD Miami, whatever the school is. And you want to have a clear-cut progression for the parents to see. So I think that if you are a JKD school, if you have, by the way, you might be lacking curriculum if you're not doing your homework like you did, Dwight. You went and you trained with this guy, and then you went and trained with him, and then you went and trained with Dave Colvar, then you went and trained with that, and then you did your personal check on everything. So I really think that is like an important topic for like school owners. Like
what I discovered is that everything that somebody like Tom Callis, John Graydon, Dave Kovar, everything that they taught in terms of curriculum structure and what have you, you could find it in JKD. It wasn't necessarily preset and written out for you. You had to do the work of organizing it yourself, but it's there.
I have the secret. This is what I found out. Guys, you have to attend all of Gorodan's seminars for 10 years. You'll have the first 2 of the 1-2 series because the fourth one, your student knocked you on your shoulder and asked you a question, so you missed one. On the second year, you'll have the next one. On the third year, you'll have. So that was the only secret. That there was a time that I had my students, they were only doing the first 3 traps.
Okay.
Can you? Or I was only practicing the first 3 because that's all I do. So
yeah.
Okay. But that's totally funny. All
right. So now I want to finish up with this, right? Oh, and by the way, before I forget, is Armando Basulto still active in JKD?
Yeah, he's around. I have him as a friend on Facebook. I could try to.
Okay, yeah, because I usually ask people who's somebody they think I should try to get on the program.
I would recommend him, and I would also recommend a guy named Craig Staten from New Jersey. Craig Staten, I could send you his info.
Craig, I know that name.
Yeah, he's been around for years.
Yeah. Okay. He's on here now, I'm pretty sure, because he usually doesn't miss the Friday evening show, right?
I would recommend him.
All right, so let me try to throw. I'm going to try to throw you off your game.
Sure.
So everything that we just talked about, curriculum development, recognition and reward for young students, professionalism in your school, staff development, and all that. If the guy says to you, Matt, I have a little training group, I don't have a professional school, what is the secret, or what are some secrets to success at that level? JKD as a hobby, let's say, but I do have a strong group, and I got no kids. I just got adults training with me. Do you have any suggestions for that guy or gal?
Is this specifically to someone wanting to start up a kids program?
No, this is somebody who is quite happy not having a school, but is never going to give up his or her JKD practice. So they have a group. They're in charge of a group. You know what? It's almost like it's like, well, I was going to say it's like the equivalent of a Gracie garage thing, right? You know what I mean? But it's not
the
guy.
Have those groups around. They're still around.
Yeah. So what's your tips for that kind of guy?
I would say if he was happy, just continue doing what he was doing. But if he wanted to grow, the reason you want to grow your program, even if it's in a garage, is because you never want to be like, oh, wow, man, we're the best. And then you go to the school down the block and you get your asses handed to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you always want to have new blood coming in, because from what I have learned over the years, because there's always somebody who is gonna like not be there or quit because of life. Either they got a new job, or they moved away, or life circumstances. So for somebody who's new, I would give them some ideas on how to get maybe more people in to
So you're saying then that even if you're not doing your JKD professionally, do it like a professional.
No, I didn't say that, but that is good. If somebody's doing JKD and they're happy, they can continue doing what they're doing. Sometimes you have some guys that they're happy. They got like 3 guys or 4 guys and they're totally happy. But if you're
not, because if 2 of those 3 guys leave, they're not happy.
Yeah,
I don't think they are.
I'm going to show you how to grow your program. And one of the I stole this one from Master Alex Davidoff, who is actually got his martial art career started with me. What he does is, let's say you got a JKD garage group, and every Tuesday and Wednesday you meet. Once a month you have, I say once a month, it's almost going to sound like it's a bring a friend day, but it's not. Once a month you give like a free workshop or seminar during that class, and you have everybody in class bring somebody. So basically what happens is you got 4 people, and you're like, hey, on the 27th, we're going to do some special stuff. Can everybody bring a friend with them? And now what will happen is 4 of them were supposed to bring friends. Only 3 brought friends, but that's 3 more people. And that's one way that you can grow your program. Mm-hmm. If you don't have social media, maybe you don't have Facebook, or maybe you do have Facebook and you have a small group in your garage. Because by doing that, let's say, I think Alex, what he would do it on a Wednesday night, once a month, free seminar. And you know what he would do? Listen to what he would do, Dwight. He would have somebody come in and teach a free, and pay. He would pay the guy to come in and teach a Thai boxing seminar for free. And everybody who came got the seminar for free and was exposed to his school. And then the next month he would do a boxing. And then the next month he would do a grappling. Then the next month he would do a weapons. So that's one thing that somebody who has a small garage group can do. Mm-hmm. If you ask the guys every day, hey, bring somebody, hey, bring somebody, hey, bring somebody, it could get old, and it sounds like you're how do you say it? You're picking on them.
Well, yeah.
But if they know, and you put it up on the board, hey, every on the 27th, we're gonna have a special class. Everybody bring someone in. That would help the smaller school owner who has somebody in the garage to get new people to come in a little bit more frequently. That's one of the things that they can do. Yeah. The next thing is, last tip for them is you take that group, once you get them a little organized, to the park and train, and you have to have cards in your pocket. Something that directs them to your garage. Something with your name on it. Because this is what happened when the karate black belt learned Kali. When I practiced karate in the park, nobody gave a shit. When I trained, you train Kali in the park?
Yeah.
You have a circle around you.
You're quite right. You're quite right.
People come up to you. They ask you questions. Hey, what's that? I've seen that in the movies. So what's the tip? What's the tip for the people who are new, or maybe they don't have a school, but they need to grow their program and they want to get some new students? Once a month, have a special class, and you ask your students. Dave Kovar says they will bring people if you know how to ask, if you ask them the right way. Mm-hmm. You say, guys, I want you to bring someone down that you love and respect, and that you would like for you to have some of the same self-defense skills on this night. We're going to be working this. Mm-hmm. Anybody who brings them in, they're going to get a T-shirt. They're going to get whatever. Yeah. It's a way to build the program. And then what do you do once you have that group? on a nice day like today, it was beautiful in our area. You go to your local park, not all the time, and you draw people in. So I hope you guys enjoy that. That back in the days, we would order a box of 5,000 flyers, and we would go out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and by 5 they would be gone and on every car and every house in the neighborhood.
Wow.
No, that it's a new time now.
That's not, yeah. You don't have to do that anymore. All right. But listen, man, I'm glad we got to do this. That was fascinating. That was some really good stuff. There's a
I lost you.
Down that road of JKD professionalism. You know, there's more and more of it, I'm happy to say, but we don't always get to it, and I don't always get to show that side. Very often people are just interested in the technical aspects. You know what I mean? Right? They like to hear about that more so than this stuff. But this was good. This was really great. And I'm surprised that I didn't know that you and I were on a similar path. You know, when it came to professionalizing the JKD, I had no idea. That was a pleasant surprise. It really was.
All right. I have something that I would like to close. I have a feeling that the people in the community, basically you've done so much for the community, and everybody really appreciates it. I know that I do. So I was curious on what made you decide that you wanted to dedicate your life to the JKD, the community, and getting us all together and perpetuating art. What made you just decide that you wanted to do this? I was so curious.
Okay, so let me clarify. You mean dedicate myself to Jeet Kune or start doing the podcast?
I'm talking about what you do on the JKD podcast. If anybody takes a look at the people that you interviewed and the information that you as an interview, the information that you actually are able to get out of them, and through your interviews, I learned that Sifu Dino is a great, amazing man. But back in the days, I hated him. Because we didn't know each other. We were all like competition.
Right.
And through your work, it taught me a lesson that that man is somebody that he's my senior. He's someone that I could sit down with. So I was curious on, yes, I guess it is. When did you decide you wanted to do this, and what was that spark that just said, I got to do this for the community? What made you?
I came up in the business world. I came up with the Dan Kennedy, the Glazer Kennedy crowd, and so I was very used to telephone interviews and then people being interviewed live and what have you. But what I realized, Matt, is that the JKD clan is one of the biggest martial art groups, one of the biggest unorganized martial art groups in the world. So I wanted to do my little part to expose different people at all different levels from all parts of the world to everybody else who was interested in finding out more about their family members, because we're all one huge family, but we don't all know each other. So I wanted to do my little part, because every life has a story, and every story has a message or a lesson. So I thought if I could get JKD people into this kind of a scenario where we're talking and people are, it's like I said in the intro to you, join me as I get to know more about Matt Judd. You see, because I know who you are, but I've found out in the past 90 minutes, I found out more about you than I ever knew before. So somebody else is sure to benefit from the time that we spend together. So this is just my contribution, a kind of repaying all of the great stuff that I got from all the great people that we mentioned here today. Vunak and Inosano and I mean, so they are the instructor group. But then my colleagues and counterparts like Nick Sakulas, like Neil Colliff, like Rick Tucci, I've learned from and through them also. So this is just my way of paying it back.
Yeah, well, you totally succeeded, because before I came on the podcast, obviously, I first clicked on all of the people who I knew and felt comfortable with. But then people who I didn't know personally, I clicked on it, and you brought them into my living room. I knew who, and I knew who they were and where they were coming from, and it just gave me a better point of view. Yeah. It made me want to be a more of a professional when I came on. Yeah, but I decided that I didn't, want to come on and not, push people the wrong way. It was important. But I thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I thank you for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
I'm gonna try to send you Armando Basulto's information, and I'll send you Craig's as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So you obviously you can look them both up.
Of course. See, and this is what I say all the time. See, this is why I can do this show until the end of my life, because I'll never run out of people. That's how vast the JKD family is. I can always go back to people, right? They can come on more than once, but there's always new people that I'll be able to add. So you guys are going to have to put up with me for a long time.
All right.
All right.
I hope it's for a very long time, but it's podcasts like this that people find out crazy stories, and it's podcasts like this that you find out that Larry Hartzell liked beef adobo. He liked San Miguel beer. He liked playing with chopsticks.
Right.
So,
that's hilarious. All right, man. Okay, well, look, have a great weekend. Thanks again for doing this, and we'll talk again.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, man. Take care. All right. That was some fun. That was episode 168, guys, with Matt Judd. So you know what to do. Put your comments in the below, and I'll take a look at everything. Probably not this evening, sometime tomorrow, because I got to go teach my 8 p.m. Zoom class. But coming up next Friday, I have to verify this. I'm hoping to have another guy from way back in the day, another Vunak influencee, and that is Makoto Kabayama. I just have to confirm it with him over the next few days, and then I'll let you guys know for sure. So follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. As before, if you want to support the program, consider making a purchase over at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's about it, right? So have a great weekend. I hope everything is normalizing in your part of the world, and I will see some of you next Wednesday for the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. Otherwise, we'll be tuning in again next Friday for another episode of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. Until then, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, signing off. You guys have a great time. Talk to you soon. Take care.